back again. And, yeah, we're just jumping back into Turnip Boy because why the hell not, you know? I don't know. I have been playing a lot of Splatoon recently, but I was like, let's do some more Turnip Boy. So, yeah, here we are. We can just jump into another run. I don't remember what we were doing last time. We unlocked, what, the second area? Something like that. There was like a village with all the vegetable people in it. And, I don't know, we were working our way through that, I guess. Oh yeah, there was like a cardboard box fort or something like that. I do kind of remember that. So, tonight, I don't think tonight's gonna be a long show. You never know, of course. But, we got basically one big story, that being the state of play. Cause you know how Xbox kind of took up most of the time, like 2 weeks ago. This week it was Sony's week. You know, Sony came out, did their thing, and now nobody else really did anything. As a result, there were a few other things. We do have today's Groundhog's Day, but who gives a fuck about Groundhog's Day? Unless you specifically live in the town that does the Groundhog Day, who the shit gives a fuck about Groundhog's Day? I mean, maybe if you're like an elementary school kid, and that's just another holiday. But no, I could care less about Groundhog's Day. So we have, today was also the anniversary of Sonic 3. It was some sort of anniversary for Sonic today, or some important day, National Hedgehog Day, something stupid like that. So we got some information about Sonic, and we'll talk about that. I've got some stuff on WIBE. I kind of played a video game. Not a good one, but a game. So we'll talk about that. And then, yeah. Oh, and then we got the finale of Percy Jackson. I had a food thing. I got a food thing this week. So yeah, I guess let's just jump right into it. So the state of play, I have no idea what the general reaction to the state of play has been. I don't know if people love it. I don't know if people hate it. I haven't really looked, if I'm being honest. Like, we watched it that one night, right? Because I did stream it. We watched it. Then I went to bed, and I literally missed all the conversation on it. So, maybe people love it, maybe people hate it. I think it's fine. It's not everything I wanted it to be, but it's not the worst thing ever either. So they started. So I'm gonna go over some things. I'm not going over everything, right? And if you want, you can find that list on like the PlayStation blog or fucking IGN if you want that. That's not what I'm doing. So yeah, let's see. It started off with Stellar Blade. I think they showed Helldivers 2. I don't give a fuck about Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2 could be the best game of all time. It is not selling itself as that. And especially in a world where it looks like another live service game, and in a world where I am so fucking sick of live service games. We'll talk about it. There was, I guess, a study. Oh god, who did it? But there was like a study where they asked like 200 plus video game companies, and 95% of them said they were making live service games. Which, part of that feels like clickbait, but it's just a crazy number. That kind of doesn't surprise me, because I feel like that's what these companies do. Because, live service games are a very high risk, very high reward thing. The problem is, I can't think of the last live service game that actually fucking paid out. Right? I feel like every live service game is like that one football one that I keep forgetting. Fucking not Brawl Stars. Whatever it was, that football one that was out for like a year before its server shut down. There was that one with like the princess that, you know, people were freaking out about that shut down. Foam Stars, which comes out like next week and is literally dead upon arrival. Like, who cares about live service games? But no, companies keep making them, and Helldivers 2, okay, whatever, I don't care. Stellar Blade, on the other hand, actually I think looked fine. It kind of reminds me of, you know, something like Nier, or, other example. I was going to say Shin Megami Tensei 5, but that's not a good example. I don't think it is. I don't know. It looked fine, honestly. It was one of the two things where I was like, where I exited the presentation thinking, that looks better than I thought going in, right? There's one other thing that I'll mention briefly. But no, I actually thought, Stellar Blade looked fine. Would I actually pick it up? No. I mean, I still haven't played Nier Automata. I would play that first, and I've had that game for years now. You know, I saw a video on TikTok that was like, play the games in your backlog. It's like, stop buying new games. Play the games in your backlog. And I'm like, you're correct, but I'm still not going to do that. I mean, to be fair, we're sticking with Turnip Boy right now. We're actually playing it. It'd be cool to beat. I don't think we're gonna beat it tonight. If I had to guess, there's probably 4 areas, 4 bosses. And we just died to boss 2. Well, there's probably a final boss as well. Because I feel like that's what the original Turnip Boy, it was 4 areas, 4 bosses. That sounds right in my head. Is this game as crazy as the original Turnip Boy? No. No. But I mean, I'm still having a good time. Next up, this was one of the things that kind of leaked the day before, at some point earlier, that they're making a Sonic Generations remake, but it's got Shadow the Hedgehog in it. So, you know, they're probably going to have levels from Shadow the Hedgehog, one of the worst video games of all time. Is it actually? Like, it's bad, but is it the worst game of all time? I don't know if I'd go that far. If I'm just, like, there are worse Sonic games, I would say. Not many, but I would say there are worse Sonic games. But no, Sonic Generations, a remake of Sonic Generations makes sense. They're remaking every other Sonic the Hedgehog game. I'm honestly kind of surprised they haven't remade the Werehog one. Sonic... Oh god, what was the Werehog one called? Sonic... Birth by Night? Sonic in the Dark Moon? Sonic Unleashed? That sounds right. That sounds right. Unleashed. I'm surprised they didn't remake that one. I hear the game still actually looks great. Like, people have played... You can play it on, like, Xbox One. Or Xbox Series X, I mean. And I guess it still looks fantastic. Which kind of doesn't surprise me. But no. Generations was good, you know. I said this during the stream. I like Generations. I just am not blown away by Generations as everybody else was. Like, I was more of a Colors fan. But, you know, maybe it's different now. Maybe I will like Generations more the second go-through round. Right? Because I did not like Sonic Colors more the second go-around. Nope. No, sorry, Bob. But I still enjoyed Sonic Generations, you know. And adding in the Shadow the Hedgehog stuff, that's got potential, you know. It's great. With the second news story we've got today, it's actually great brand synergy. Because I remember when the Mario movie came out. It came out in, what, March, May-ish? Somewhere's around. I think it came out in March. And when it came out, everyone was like, why isn't Nintendo also releasing a new Mario game? Like, you know, you get people to go out and see the Mario Brothers movie, and then around the same time as it's coming out, you release a Mario game, so that way people can be like, oh, you know, I really enjoyed that movie. Now I want to go play a Mario game. And they've got that one right there. Meanwhile, this is totally doing that. Oh, right, people go see the Sonic movie in December. Well, hey, I want to play a Sonic game now. Sonic Generations, Sonic Shadow Generations, released like a month or two earlier. Right, that's like perfect brand synergy. So it makes sense. Next up, Dave the Diver. Dave the Diver is coming to PlayStation. I've heard it's a great game. Not an indie game, but a really good game. And they're adding Godzilla. I am a huge fan of Godzilla. And holy shit, they're putting Godzilla in Dave the Diver. It's wild. Knowing what I know about that game, it actually probably fits really well. But I'm actually genuinely, like, really excited. I'm a big Godzilla fan. Not the biggest. But, you know, I like me some Godzilla. So seeing Godzilla in Dave the Diver, that's really cool. It kind of came out of nowheres. Like, I'm not going to say it was the biggest surprise of the showcase, but it's definitely not one I saw coming. So that's really cool. Next up, we got Silent Hill stuff. We got Silent Hill, The Short Message. This is their new attempt at, like, a playable teaser. Right? It's a free game that you can download on PlayStation. And it does remind me of Playable Teaser. Now, admittedly, I did, like, acquire it, and I did download it onto my console. But it's probably one of those things that I'm going to download and then just never play. You know, like a lot of those PS Plus games they give you for free, where it's like, oh, hey, they gave me fucking... I'm gonna use Power Wash Simulator, even though I did play Power Wash Simulator. Right, like, oh, they gave me Power Wash Simulator. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna play that. Sure, that sounds great. And then I downloaded it and then just never touched it. I feel like that's a lot of PS Plus games. So this kind of falls into that camp, especially because I'm not a big horror guy. But, you know, yeah, it's an interesting thing to try, at least. And then they showed off Silent Hill 2 Remake, done by Bloober Team. And I'll be honest, I wasn't really impressed. Like, you know, Silent Hill 2 was regarded as one of the best games of all time. And this might be, right, this might be the remake of that best game of all time that we've dreamed of. Because the last time they remade it, it didn't work that well. I know they fucked up something. Because I want to say Silent Hill 2 was one of those games that the source code was lost for. And I know there's problems with emulation. At least there used to be problems with emulation. I'd be surprised if they hadn't fixed some of those. I don't know. Because I remember, like, I think of games like Mother 3, or if you've ever listened to people talk about Mother 3, there's, like, this inherent problem with the game that means it will never work on emulated. Like, no matter what emulator you have, right, it'll always have some sort of problem. Or something like that. I mean, part of me thinks that, like, you've got to be able to make a specific emulator just to play Mother 3. It's something to do with the sound. I can't remember the exact details. But I feel like Silent Hill 2 had a similar problem with emulators. I want to say it was something graphical, though, and it would just never work because of how weirdly that game was coded. So the idea of a remake is something, you know, I've always wanted because I've always heard good things about it and never played it. So, you know, maybe it'll be great. But there's also the equal chance that it won't be. I don't know, I guess the new trailer was labeled a combat trailer, which, I'll be honest, doesn't really instill good vibes for me. From what I know about Silent Hill 2, I don't really think of it as, like, a combat-heavy game. You know, it's more like psychological horror. So I feel like this is kind of already starting off on a bad foot. We'll have to wait and see, obviously. But at the moment, I was not impressed. Next up, they showed off Judas. So this is Ken Levine's new game of BioShock fame. I love BioShock 1 is one of my favorite games of all time. Easily makes my top 10. I liked BioShock 2 at the time. I have not played it. I've only ever played it like twice. And one of those was to Let's Play it. I did a really shitty Let's Play of BioShock 2 back in like 2013 that still probably exists on YouTube. And that's probably the only time I've ever played. And that's like the last time I played BioShock 2. I don't even think I ever played the DLC for that game. Because BioShock 2, I got the original BioShock before Infinite came out. I was able to get the original BioShock for 99 cents. And I picked it up on a whim. You know, I had heard good things. I knew people were excited for Infinite. And I was like, oh, the original BioShock, 99 cents? Sure, people seem to be very excited for the new one. I did not know about how legendary the original BioShock was. It was more of just like, oh, you know, I'll pick it up. And then I beat it in like... I'm going to say it was probably 24 hours, but I'm going to say 48. Let's just say I beat it in 2 days. And I was like, this is amazing. And then I found out there was BioShock 2, and I was like, where the hell can I get a copy of that? And there was a copy at like a local GameStop for like $5. And then BioShock Infinite came out like a few months later. When I say a few months, I mean, I think it was like 2 months later. So yeah, I played all 3 BioShock games back to back. Almost. And yeah, BioShock still blows my mind. BioShock Infinite, I loved at the time. I know for a fact it does not hold up. Like, there's a lot of shit we let that game get away with that we probably shouldn't have. But at the time, I enjoyed it. And I will probably never replay it again. Probably not. I don't know. Honestly, the biggest thing stopping me from replaying it is those stupid Lady Comstock fights. If you've never played BioShock Infinite... I'm gonna say probably like halfway through the game, maybe a little bit more than halfway through the game, you have to fight a ghost. Yeah, it's effectively a ghost. It's like they may call it a siren, whatever it is. And it's just the biggest jump in difficulty. Like, you know, most enemies take like a few bullets up to that point. Even some of the bosses don't take an insane amount. And then Lady Comstock is just a sponge, man. Oh my gosh. Hey, Anoros, how you doing? Nope, I'm good. So yeah, I loved BioShock at the time. But I don't plan on playing it again. But, you know, hopefully this new one will be, you know, good. It seems interesting so far, you know. We went from being underwater to being in the sky. Now we're in space. It's a logical progression, I guess. So, yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes. We will just have to wait and see. I don't think we got any real release date on this. And it is nice that we're getting 2 BioShock-inspired games, because we've got this, but then there's also that Clockwork game as well, that very much feels like a BioShock game. So I'm very excited for that. What else? The other thing that surprised me was Dragon's Dogma 2. Like, at first I was like, oh, is this like a Monster Hunter or something like that? Like, I had no idea what this was. But the more I kept watching, I was like, you know what, this actually looks kind of interesting. You know, I know people were excited for Dragon's Dogma 2. I'd never played the first one. I'd heard of it, but I'd never played it. Right? It's the same thing with, it's like, oh god, what is it? Not Assassin's Creed. What was the Origins? Divinity Original Sin? Was that the name of the game? Where it's like, I hear people really love those games, but I've never played them. I think it's whatever the studio that does Mass Effect. Whatever their other game is. I know people really like those games, but I've never played them. But I know people really do enjoy them. So I'm like, at some point, I gotta do that. But I know people like Dragon's Dogma. People are excited for the second one. And yeah, based on the trailer, I actually think it's pretty interesting. Is it like my #1 go-to? I don't know about that. Like, I don't know if I'll actually play it. But from what I saw, I was actually more interested than I thought it was going to be. I still do, though, like, before I do any of that, I gotta play freaking Monster Hunter. And then the final thing from the thing was Death Stranding 2. They did a real big segment on Death Stranding 2. Hey, guess what? You're Sam Porter Bridges, and even though you connected America in the first game to form a new government, now you gotta connect even more places. And weird guy, oh god, I don't know the actor's name. I saw someone show the clip from that, and then post the drill tweet from like 2015, where he's like, the judge orders me to take off my V for Vendetta mask, only to reveal my Joker face paint underneath. And it's like, yep, that's the part. There's always a drill tweet. There's always a drill tweet, or a pudding person, or, you know, fucking pixelated boat. There's always a tweet. Right? Donald Trump. Donald Trump only does it to himself, though. So, yeah, I think, you know, I know they fixed a lot. I mentioned this a lot yesterday. I know they fixed a lot of the problems with Death Stranding with the Definitive Edition, or the Director's Cut, whatever it was called. A lot of the things that people really hated about that game, Kojima, I'm not going to say he un-Kojima'd them, he just, you know, added a bunch of new stuff that made the game feel and play better. So I'm really hopeful that, yeah, they just take all that, move it into Death Stranding 2, give us some new crazy things. Again, guy with an electric guitar weapon. You know what? Fuck it. Kojima can do whatever he wants. Is it always good? No, but it's always interesting. Right? He's an artur for a reason. And so, yeah, no, I'm fucking down for whatever at this point. He announced his new game as well. He's, you know, making another Metal Gear Solid style. It's not Metal Gear Solid, but it's something, you know, in that vein. And you know what? I'm down for that. Sure. Part of me is more interested in his horror game, because he might... Exposure bucks, fuck. God, this game. You know, he's doing another horror thing, and, you know, after everybody loved PT so much, you know, maybe he'll take some of those scrapped ideas from PT and work them into this new game with, you know, the help of Jordan Peele. And, you know, maybe Jordan Peele will come in and check Kojima on some things. And I don't know, that one, even though, again, I'm not a big horror guy, that one in theory interests me more. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. But he announced his new thing. It's not Purithis, but it's something like that. It, you know, we didn't really get much on it other than the genre. But no, I think Death Stranding 2, yeah, it's more Death Stranding 2, Electric Beachaloo. And yeah, it looks fine. And yeah, that was the showcase. There were a few other things, like they showed off Foam Stars. They showed off that Ronin game that looked okay. You know, there was some good stuff in there. What I liked more, of course, you know what I really am curious about is what the hell Sucker Punch is working on. Right after Ghost of Tsushima, right? Yeah, I want to know what their next project is. They're going to do a Ghost of Tsushima 2. They're going to do another Infamous game. Is Blue Point going to do a remake of Infamous? I would love to see that, right? Blue Point has kind of gotten themselves down as the remake studio. So them remaking the first Infamous game, or even the first two, would be amazing. I love those Infamous games, man. Those are great. I'd love to see another one of those. Yeah, you know, I think it's a fine showcase. Nothing amazing, right? Like, I don't feel like it hit the... For some people out there, I'm sure it was great. But for me, it didn't hit the highs of, like, Xbox's showcase last week, which, you know, had Indiana Jones, and it's like, oh, you know, I think it looks great than Indiana Jones. So I'm, you know, a little bit more skeptical on this, but you know, it might be great. You never know. You never know. And yeah, that's the PlayStation Showcase. You know, it was a showcase. It didn't really dissuade me from thinking like, oh, PlayStation... Because right now a lot of people are worried because PlayStation doesn't really have any first-party games announced. And if I'm being honest, this didn't do anything to help them. Sure, they've got some things, but not as much as I would like. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Next up... So, Sonical Hedgeman 3. Quick thoughts on the Sonic movie. You know, we bullied the studio into making a better design, kind of, and they actually turned out a pretty decent movie. Nothing amazing, like, I wouldn't give it, like, a higher than, like, a 7 out of 10, and that's probably being generous, because, you know, I'm a Sonic fan. But, no, I thought the first Sonic movie was fine. The second one, admittedly, I kind of want to rewatch it now, but I remember actually really liking the second one. Getting the voice actress who does Tails to come back and reprise their role was great, right? I think they do a great job as Tails. Idris Elba did a fantastic job as Knuckles. The plot with the Chaos Emeralds, you know, was more traditionally Sonic, right? They spend the human, you know, John Marsden and his wife. Well, I still do like the characters. They're definitely there a lot less. But they're still there, you know, and, like, I definitely think that with each movie, we'll be spending less and less time with them, which is for the best. But, you know, I think they're fine. I love the plot with the sister who hates John Marsden. I think she's fucking hilarious. The actress is just really funny. She does really well with the material she's given. And, yeah, you know, seeing her wedding play out, it all being a sham was really funny. The Chaos Emeralds, the Master Emerald, Supersonic, seeing the giant Death Egg, or whatever the hell it's called. I think that was great. Yeah, no, I genuinely really do enjoy Sonic 2. Is it actually a great movie? Probably not. You know, kind of like right, you know, when people say, like, oh, this movie was, right, people were like with the FNAF movie. This movie is made for fans. Oh, this movie is for the fans. And, like, yeah, I mean, I guess the Sonic movie definitely, the second Sonic movie is definitely one of those where it's like, oh, this was made for the fans. Of course, some people actually disagree with that. I want to say it was Arlo who said, like, they actually don't think it had enough fan service in it or whatever. That it really wasn't. And I disagree personally, but, you know, to each their own, I guess. But, you know, after the second Sonic movie came out, Jim Carrey kind of announced that he was retiring from acting. And I know there was some, like, confusion, like, oh, he's not actually retiring. Instead, he's just, you know, taking a break. And it was kind of unclear at the time. But now here we are, you know, a few years later. And it has been confirmed that, no, as of today, it has been confirmed that Jim Carrey is coming back as Eggman in Sonic 3. Now, my personal prediction has been that if Jim Carrey was retiring, what would have made sense is for them to have his, like, number 2 guy, you know, one of the most obviously gay-written characters ever, who, you know, they never actually confirm is gay, make him the big bad. I think his name is Stone. Yeah, make Agent Stone the big bad guy. Kind of like, you know, Sonic Sat AM, you know, where it ends with them defeating Eggman, and then the little henchman reveals that he's the big bad guy, and they kind of cliffhang on Shadow the Hedgehog. Yeah, that's kind of how the second movie ended, where they could have done that, made Agent Stone the big bad and have Sonic Shadow. And I wouldn't have been surprised if they did that. That's not what they're doing, probably, because, you know, they're bringing Jim Carrey back. But I think it's interesting. I do, whatever it is, I'm excited for it, you know. I definitely think they can pull off one more good movie. After that, who fucking knows? I would not be surprised if they completely fall apart after this one. But I do definitely think they can pull off a third movie at least. What else? I do wonder who they're going to get to. Are they going to do Old Man Egg, or like Eggman's grandfather is the one who creates Shadow the Hedgehog? Because they're obviously going to do Maria, right? Her name's Maria. Like, they've already done that. I want to say they casted her as well. Or at least there's rumors of who's playing Maria. Oh, God. What was the actress's name? Was it Alyssa something? Give me a second. Sonic. I'm checking Twitter. But I want to say we know who, or there's at least the rumor of who's going to be playing the Maria. Alila? Brownie? Yeah, Alila? Alia? It's some girl, and yeah, she's gonna play some young the rumor is she's playing some young character, and that's probably gonna be Maria. And if you know Shadow the Hedgehog's backstory, you know he's friends with this girl Maria, and then she gets killed by no-name guard number 3. I actually think it's no-name guard number 12. Whatever, it doesn't matter. She gets killed, he loses his faith in humanity, and, you know, becomes a villain. I don't know, it's been fucking 15 years since I played Sonic Adventures 1 and 2. It's been a long time. So I don't remember the entire story, but, like, obviously they're gonna do that plot. It just makes sense. So I wonder, are they going to get Jim Carrey to play his own grandfather? Or are they going to get, who are they going to cast as, Eggman Sr.? I think it's a grandfather. I don't think it's a father. I think it's a grandfather. That's another one I'm curious about. Or are they just going to have Jim Carrey do both roles? I don't know. I'd love to see somebody else. But it's like, who the fuck else could you get to be Jim Carrey? To be, you know, Jim Carrey grandpa? The other rumor that was circulating around this morning was that Shadow the Hedgehog will be voiced by Hayden Christensen. You know, most famous for being Anakin Skywalker. And you hear that, right? Hayden Christensen, Anakin Skywalker, Edgelord himself will be playing Shadow. And that just kind of sounds perfect. Admittedly, I don't know how well he's going to do. Like, I have no idea. He might do amazing. He might do garbage. Admittedly, I did not watch the Obi-Wan show. I don't know how he was in that. But it sounds like a good idea in my head. You know, hearing the idea of, oh, Hayden Christensen is Shadow the Hedgehog. That sounds like a fantastic idea. Of course, nothing's been confirmed yet. You know, we'll still have to wait and see. But I think that's real interesting. I like that idea. Holy crap, look at that money. So yeah, you know, if that's what they're going to do, then fuck it, I'm down for it, sure. But if they don't do that, then whatever, you know. We'll just have to wait and see, I guess. Yeah, no, we also got the logo, and the logo is very heavily inspired by Sonic Adventure 2, which is exactly what you'd want. I was trying to think, what was the other movie that did that? Where they just released, like, a logo, and it was like, yeah, That's exactly what we wanted it to be. I don't think it was the Mario movie. I don't think it was the previous Sonic movies. Maybe it was Sonic 2. I don't know. I know there was some movie where it's like they just released a logo. And everyone was like, yeah, that's exactly what we wanted. That's what we've been waiting... You know that SpongeBob meme? That's what we've been waiting for this whole time. But no, I'm excited. I'm genuinely excited for Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Right? As a Sonic fan. Not one of those fans, just like general Sonic fan. No, I'm like genuinely interested. So next up, well, I guess let's get us into WIBE. Like I said, there wasn't much news tonight. So, I do have a food thing to start off with. So, for the past, like, year or so, I've been hearing everybody talk about hot honey. Oh, hot honey is the big new thing. Oh, everybody loves hot honey. And I've seen, like, those, like, hey, what's the best weird food combination you've ever had? And one of the things I kept seeing was, like, hot honey, right? Putting honey on pizza. Right? It was just a thing I kept seeing that everyone was talking about. But I'd never actually had it. Well, the first time I ever heard hot honey, I legitimately thought they just meant, like, heating up honey in, like, the microwave and then just putting that on pizza. I didn't know they meant, like, spicy honey. I want to say I figured out they meant spicy honey from an episode of Guy's Grocery Games. That sounds right in my head. It's something like that. I don't know. Hot honey has never really been a thing. I buy a local honey place that makes fantastic. They've got some top quality bees working for them, man. So yeah, no, honey can be good in circumstances. So I've been hearing everyone talk about this hot honey thing, and then Pizza Hut launched a hot honey pizza this week. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Sure, why not? I'll try it. Like I said, I think I've said this before. I'm not really a Pizza Hut guy. I've been to it I've been to a Pizza Hut probably more in the past like 2 years than the previous like 15 before that. My family just didn't really do Pizza Hut. We always just ate at a local place, right? And then when Domino's got their shit together, we became a Domino's family. Alright, so Pizza Hut has never really been my thing. It's mostly just been local places. But, you know, I tried, when Pizza Hut did their, like, melts or whatever they were called, I tried one of those, and I actually really do like those. The Pizza Hut melt. The rest of Pizza Hut's kind of whatever. But the melt I actually thought was pretty decent. So I was like, you know what, sure, fuck it, let's try this hot honey pizza. And I'll be honest, my first impression, because I just tried, like, the honey on its own, and I was kind of like, oh, okay, it had a little bit of kick to it, and I was like, oh, is this going to work on pizza? And then, you know, I actually had a slice, and yeah, you know what, it's not bad. I honestly, yeah, I think the hot honey works really well. It's not a very, like, overpowering flavor by any means. Right, it's just additive, and yeah, no, I was actually kind of impressed with it. Is it something I'm going to get every time? Like, am I ever going to go back to Pizza Hut again? I don't know about that. But for what it was, I actually kind of enjoyed it. You know, everyone's talking about this hot honey, and I guess I kind of get what they're on to. Yeah, that was far from... Right, it was definitely not the worst thing I've had at a Pizza Hut. That's for damn sure. Yeah, I enjoyed it. What else? I think that's the only food thing I have this week. So, next up, games. I've been playing, even though we're not playing, you know, usually we play Splatoon. I'm not playing Splatoon right now, but I have been playing some Splatoon off stream. I'm trying to get back up into S rank. You know, I'm doing I'm going clown mode and being like, oh yeah, I'll be able to get back into S rank before the season ends. And man, I fucking tried. I was at the the night, so I played for like a few hours. And I started off garbage, right? I think I was up 3, down 3. And it was like, ah shit, that's a horrible first round. And then so I did the next one, lost 3 in a row. And I'm talking about ranked series. So I lost 3 in a row, and it's like, fuck, man, that's awful. Took a little bit of a break, came back, won 5 in a row. And was like, oh yeah, now I'm getting up. Fine, I do another run. That gets me enough. I don't think I won 5 in a row. But like, I think I was probably up 3, down 3, something like that. At some point I went up 3, down 3 again. Maybe I went up 3 and down 3 and then went 5 in a row. Maybe that sounds right. Like, I started off mediocre, got bad, went back to mediocre, then got good. So I was like, okay, now it's finally time to do the rank up match. To get back to S rank, it's tower control, my best mode. And I was like, oh, I've got this in the bag. Down 3. All 3 games got my ass kicked. It was just bad. It was a bad map. I don't even remember the map. It wasn't mincemeat, but it was something awful. And we just got our ass kicked. And I was so brokenhearted. Especially because I just went 5 up. To then immediately turn around and go 3 down. Terrible. So now I'm sitting at like 1,000. So I'm like 100 away from a level up. I just haven't actually done the level up yet. But that broke my heart, man. I was so close. But it's still a fun game. I'm really excited for that DLC. The DLC's in, 20 days? You better fucking believe I'll be there. Probably not the day it comes out, probably like the next day. I think that's the weekend. But I am excited for it. That DLC is hopefully going to be great. So yeah, I played that. And then the game that came out today, because I didn't want to pay fucking $100 for it, because that's dumb. But I'll make the foolish decision and still pay $60. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I played all the Arkham games last year. And, this game takes place in the Arkham universe. I'm just going to ignore that. Honestly, from here on out, let's just say it takes place in an Arkham-adjacent universe. A universe where things are very similar, but not exactly the same. I wish they had just fucking said that. Right? Because this is... Like, yes, on one hand, I am glad that, right, they're saying Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, so they're killing the Justice League. Like, on one level, I'm actually glad they're committing to the bit. But on the other hand, was this a bit that anybody asked for? Is this like a super fucking subversive text that people really wanted? I don't know. I want this game to be like that Guardians of the Galaxy game that came out a few years ago, right? Where that was a team game, but it was entirely single player. And genuinely, they made a great game out of it. Nothing like 10 out of 10, but they still made something very solid. What I did not want from this game was Marvel's Avengers, or Gotham Knights. Guess what I got? Fucking Marvel Avengers or Gotham Knights. Also, look at this fucking boss fight, man. We're playing fucking slime videos at the bottom, soap cutting videos at the top. Fucking, this game, I love it. Turnip Boy, you get me. So yeah, I'm just kind of like, what the fuck ever, man. Like, I'll play it. It is not a game that wants to be played for the story. Right? Like, it's not a story game. Right? It has a story, but it's designed to be a live service. And nobody gives a shit about live services. Especially not a DC one. Like, I feel like the best live services are the ones where you create your character, where you can be anybody. I feel like every live service that's like, oh, we're going off an existing IP, where you get to play as your favorite character. Like, yes, I know Fortnite you get to play as your favorite characters, but they have every fucking character. That's why Fortnite works, is they have everything. Whereas just saying like, oh, well, hey, you can play as Harley Quinn. We're gonna add the Joker in the first season. Like, who fucking cares? The second I finish this game's story, I'm fucking done, man. I'm outie. I'm never gonna touch this game again. But I'm at least curious to finish the story. How far am I? I played it for like 3 hours. I've done almost nothing, right? I think some of the complaints people have about this game are stupid. Like, I've seen some people be mad that, like, oh, well, look at this museum at the beginning of the game. All the dialogue here is so... Holy shit, that's a lot of money. Holy shit. I feel like a lot of people have been like, oh, the dialogue is so cringe. It's a fucking children's museum. You fucking babies. Like, no wonder you think it's cringe. You're a fucking child. Oh my god. I think it's fine. I think the Children's Museum stuff in the Hall of Justice is fine. It's totally something they would do. Because they're the fucking Justice League. You know, I'm sick of that fucking Zack Snyder bullshit of, oh, our heroes have to be dark and... Hey, it's the Luigi's Mansion piano. Our heroes have to be dark and edgy. And, oh, everything has to be a metaphor for Jesus. Like, fuck that. Like, I know all the heroes are taken over by Brainiac. And that invites itself to its own set of problems. But even still, man, like, come the fuck on with that Zack Snyder bullshit. Yeah, like, the Batman from the Arkham universe was a fucking hero. Right? Most interpretations aren't. I'm fine with the Kids Museum. I know some people are just mad because there's a Pride banner in it, and those people can go fuck themselves. They can fucking suck a dick, those cunts. But, yeah, no, I'm fine with all of it. You know, you stealing all the heroes' gadget, you know, the Speed Force Gauntlet, the jetpack, the, Batwing thing. I forgot they killed Harley in the Arkham universe, Ivy in the Arkham universe. That sucks. Because that would have been a great character to have in this, you know? Have her, you know, if they're so committed to this fucking season pass bullshit, have fucking Poison Ivy show up. Whatever, they're gonna do whatever they want. The game's whatever, you know. Honestly, I think the story is fine. I think the voice acting is fine. My biggest problem with it is the gameplay. I think the gameplay is just kind of repetitive. Favorite character, having played all 4 of them, part of me wants to say Boomerang. I don't know. I think Carly's the least interesting, if I'm being honest. Just using the grappling hook. King Shark's okay. You know, I like him. He's just jumping around everywhere. That's not bad. Yeah, it's okay. You know. I have not played it long enough to hate it like everybody else does. I'm sure when I just keep trying to slog through this thing and I'm just fucking sick of it. Like, we'll get there eventually. Because I did get there with Gotham. Because I played Gotham Knights as well. And I eventually got there with Gotham Knights. Where, like, at first it was like, you know, this is okay. Like, you know, I'm playing it with other people. And, you know, bad games are better when you're playing it with other people, right? Fucking Veilfisk just put out a video the few weeks ago about how horror games are right, are more interesting when you're playing them with other people. And, right, the comedy of a horror game is something truly special. So, yeah, no, I kind of feel, right, bad games can kind of work the same way. A bad game can be more fun if you're playing it with friends. But they can only do so much. And this one I'm not playing with friends. I cannot be fucking bothered, if I'm being honest. Neither can anybody else. So yeah, you know, I'll work my way through it. It'll happen. Anything else about Suicide Squad? Not that I can think of. I'm still very early on. Let's see, what else? So, I think the last thing we got for the night is Percy Jackson. So, episode 8 of Percy Jackson came out. And, you know, I had been enjoying the show. I definitely had my fair amount of skepticism. I had a few concerns. They've definitely made some changes to the plot and just the overall tone of the show compared to the books. Because the best example I can think of is that, like, in the books, they go to a place, and then it's like, hey, look, this mythological character just happens to be here. Right? Like, when they go to Antium's, it's just like, oh, hey, this old lady saved us, or whatever. She's giving us food, and then surprise, surprise, it's Medusa. Whereas in the show, before they even enter Auntie M's, they already know she's Medusa. And that's how everything works in this show. Right? Before they even enter the place, they usually already know what creature they're fighting. And it can be kind of frustrating. Sometimes it works out okay. You know, I feel like all the changes they made to the Tunnel of... I think the best episode in the show... It's either is this last one, or it was the Tunnel of Love one. I do like the changes they made to the Tunnel of Love. I liked Percy sacrificing himself and Hephaestus showing up. I think all that worked really well. Non-fungus tearing... Oh, I think we laughed about that last time. That's fucking funny, man. I know NFTs are dead, but I still think it's funny. Game development takes a long time. What are you gonna do? So right in this final... So last where we left off, you know, Percy went to the underworld to save his mom. He failed, you know, like he does in the book. But this time when he fails, he realizes, like, oh, wait, we're being set up by Kronos. Like, the big bad guy who... I mean, I think he gets mentioned at the end of the first book. I kind of don't remember, but it's really... I found it really weird that, like, Percy was the one to figure it out. And I was like, okay, that's such a strange change, but, you know, technically it tracks with everything else they've done in this show. But it was like, okay, you know, I liked what they did with Hades. I like that he makes the deal with Hades to, you know, if I get your crown back, you'll give me my mom back. And then we ended with the fight, right, with them going back up to the surface. I do like that when they go back up to the surface, they're not in San Diego, or San Francisco, or San Diego, wherever they are. California. They're not in California. They're back in New York. Because I always found it really weird that right when they go back up, instead of teleporting, you know, they have the pearls that can teleport them anywheres. They instead teleport back to fucking, like, any ocean, you know. At least if I remember correctly, it can teleport them to, like, any beach. Right? I don't think it's like the last beach you visited, right? It's not like a return. It's not like an escape rope from Pokemon, is what I'm trying to say. So I always found it really weird that they go back to San Diego. Whereas in this one, no, they go back to New York. I'm like, that makes perfect sense. Of course, does it mean that they can't resolve the whole plot of them becoming wanted criminals? Yeah, because they don't resolve that. It's barely mentioned, but it was still mentioned in the show. Right, so they can't really resolve that. But, right, he fights Ares. All he has to do is get a single drop of blood. He does, or Icor. Ichor. Whatever the gods have for blood. All he has to do is get a single drop. He does, and then Ares is like, "You've made an enemy for life. That's even worse, kid." He goes back to the cottage, gives Alecto the helm, in exchange for his mother. Which, I like how that played out. I like how that played out in the book. It plays out well here. And then they go back to Camp Half-Blood, and he's like, "Why isn't Clarice locked up?" And Luke is like, "Oh, well, I didn't want to cause a panic. But don't worry, I've got a meeting scheduled with Chiron tonight." Oh, look at that. That's cute. I want to say that's also a reference to the previous game. Right, it's like, "Oh, we've got a meeting with Chiron tonight. Let's go talk to him." And then Annabeth dips off to go keep an eye on Clarice. And then as they're walking through, Percy's like, "So far, everything in the prophecy has come true. I returned the lightning bolt. I went west. I failed to technically save my mom. The only thing that hasn't come true is being betrayed by a friend. Because Clarice may have betrayed us, but I wouldn't call her a friend." And then Percy figures out it's Luke. So, all the changes about Percy figuring out Kronos, I think work because he figures out Luke, and they change the final Luke scene. Because, okay, so in the book, how the final scene with Luke works is it's everything wraps up in the story, and then they go through the entire summer, right? The entire summer of summer camp happens, everything goes great, Percy has a great time at summer camp, and then on, the final day, he sits down to talk with Luke. Luke shows him Backbiter, and then gets him poisoned by a scorpion, or whatever the hell it was. It was something like Luke tries to kill him. So I like what they do in the show, where Luke then reveals, Backbiter to Percy, after Percy's figured him out, and is like, "Hey, you've seen throughout your quest how fucked up the gods are. Join me and help me overthrow them." Right? It goes from him trying to murder Percy into him being a recruitment thing. And the only reason Percy and Luke fight is because Percy brings up his dad, which is I think a great change. Honestly, them meeting Hermes in the Lotus Casino just to have this Luke fight, I think honestly is one of the best changes the show makes. Right? Because the second he mentions the dad, it sets him off. And I think that's great. The final fight with Luke, it's very simple. They bring up that Luke can use his sword to teleport, which was in the books, but as people have pointed out on TikTok, is actually never brought up again after the first book. But he uses his sword to escape camp after it's revealed that Annabeth heard the whole conversation, which is another change that I also do really like. I think Annabeth, because Annabeth's biggest weakness in the books is Luke, right? She'll basically do whatever it's not that she'll do whatever Luke says, but right, there's a good chance that Luke will join her. I know there's speculation in the second book that the whole reason Luke's doing whatever he's doing is because she will agree with him. The other girl, not Annabeth, the other girl. I don't want to say anything more than that because of spoilers, right? That's Luke's his secondary motivation, I would say. Of course, his first motivation is resurrecting Kronos. So no, I feel like it's a good change. And yeah, I think the final fight with Luke all plays out really well. I'm really satisfied with it. And I think it was a great ending to the show. I love the fake out of him heading back to the house and being reunited with his mom just to find out it's all a dream. That's a great payoff. And then having Kronos, right, being like, "Oh, I want you alive. This is easier if you're alive." And then afterwards, him telling his mom he loves he loves her. That's great, right? I feel like the show ends in a good place. I knew they were going to do a post-credit scene, and I knew that post-credit scene was going to be Gabe being turned to stone. Right? I just knew that's how that was going to play out. So yeah, I feel like the show actually ends on a pretty good note. I still don't know how I feel about him missing the deadline. Yes, he gets the whole... Because in the books, he barely makes the deadline. And when he shows up on Mount Olympus, all the gods are there. He brings the lightning bolt, and Zeus decides, not to kill him, and then sends him away. Right? I think May mentioned Kronos. I want to say that happens in the third book. I want to say, yeah, it's the third book. Because in the third book, they meet all the gods as well, right? He goes back to Olympus. And they mention, like, hey, Kronos is coming. And Zeus is like, shut up. I will not hear the name Kronos mentioned again in this hall. Right? Something like he's basically just trying to ignore the problem and hope it goes away. And instead they do that here in the first book. And I think it's fine. Lance Reddick, I hope I pronounced that right. Right? I think he does a great job as Zeus in this finale. Right? As one of his final acting performances. I think he kills it. Right? Percy trying to tell him, like, hey, I've seen how dysfunctional your family is. Your own son betrayed you. This happened today. It's going to happen again. Zeus trying to strike him down. And then, Poseidon stepping in to save him. I think that all that is good. I just don't feel like they should have changed him missing the deadline. I feel like you could have had the exact same scene without him missing the deadline. Like, still have him going down to the minute, walking in, finding only Zeus, because all the other gods are preparing for war, him giving back the bolt, Poseidon saving his son, Percy asking the thing like, hey, do you dream of mom? Which was a great, right, of all the questions he could have asked, especially after what happened in the previous episode, I think was a great question. I feel like that was all fantastic. And then, yeah, ending it right there. I thought it was a great, I think it's a great end. I think the show is actually pretty good, and I feel like that was a great ending. Do I overall, my thoughts on the show, I think it's a good show. It's got a lot of changes. Some of them are good. I think some of the changes are good changes. I just think some of the changes are garbage. Specifically, honestly, if they just changed him missing the deadline, I'd actually probably feel better about the whole thing. Come on, I'm right. Fuck! I was right there at the train station. I lost so much there. I probably lost like over 200k. Shit. But no, I feel like a lot of the changes they made are good changes. Right, there are some that I really do like, and then there are some I just don't really care for. Like, there was no reason to change it. I feel like that's kind of what it comes down to. Is they made this change, and I just kind of don't know why. Like, it's not really a necessary change, if that makes any sense. But they did it. Alright, we're going to do one more run, and then we're going to call it. But no, I do think it was a good show. I hope it gets a second season. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't announce a renewal after the final episode aired. I hope it gets another season. I hope they do the all 5 books. I don't know. My biggest concern, though, is that I know each episode of the show costs like $20 million. So at, 8 episodes, that's like what, 8? That's 16,000. That's 160 million. I don't know how. Each episode costs 20 million. It's 8 episodes. That's 160 million. That's a lot of fucking money for a TV show, man. They gotta find a way to get that budget down. That's my biggest concern. That's honestly the biggest concern about them getting another season. Other than that, I feel like people are very positive on it. I heard people talking about it every week. Admittedly, I am in circles where they would be talking about it every week. Didn't change the fact that people were. So yeah, no, I genuinely thought it was great, and I want more. I want them to do, I love where they end it, with them promising to come back next year, and we know they're building towards Sea of Monsters. So yeah, I'm genuinely excited. Alright, let's see what this was about. And yeah, I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. And so I know last week we talked about the Hidden Oracle. I have been reading the the new book, the Dark Prophecy, I did not finish it. I'm at like chapter like 36 or something like that. I think I have like 8 chapters to go. It's not much, but no, I think it's 6 chapters to go. We'll talk about it next week. Is this boss supposed to be invisible? I'm going to guess this boss is not supposed to be invisible. So I guess that takes us to the outro. Thoughts on Turnip Boy? I'm still enjoying it. I will say we are on the Switch version. I don't know how this works on like the PC version, because I'm assuming this game's also out on PC. There is a lot of lag. Sometimes when we have like a lot of money on screen, or we're in like a really big room with a lot of enemies, there can be some lag. Honestly, I'm personally just like plowing through it, and I feel like I'm doing okay, but there is definitely a good chunk of lag in this game. And then there's this. I do not think this enemy is supposed to be invisible. Like, I know we're fighting like a fox or something. I do not think this enemy is supposed to be invisible. I think something is glitched here. But other than that, you know, I'm enjoying this game. I definitely am having a good time with it. You know, maybe we'll beat it next week. We're making good progress. Oh fuck, I was gonna talk about Nintendo Directs this week. Shit. Hopefully I have Nintendo Direct predictions. Hopefully the Nintendo Direct doesn't happen I want it to happen within the next week, but if it doesn't, it doesn't. Whatever. That boss is a pain in the ass. With it being invisible and everything, that kind of sucks. Alright, I'm gonna stop it right there. And yeah, I feel like, you know, we'll try again next week. I feel like we can beat the game. I don't know, they did announce a new Splatfest in Splatoon. They're doing, it's Friday versus Saturday versus Sunday. On which day is the best day of the week. And I feel like the very obvious answer is Saturday, which is Frey's team. And Frey hasn't won a Splatfest in over a year. So I think this is the best time for it to happen. But I still think somehow she's going to lose it. That sucks. But yeah, we'll be back next week with either more of this or Splatoon. I think the Splatfest is in 2 weeks. We'll be back when... I know there's like an egg run going on right now. I don't give a shit. I do not care. But we'll be back with more Splatoon at some point. We definitely have the DLC, which I think that's the week of... We'll probably play that weekend whenever it comes out. You know I'm excited for that. We'll be back to more Splatoon later, but you know, I'm enjoying Turnip Boy. You know, it's just something different. You know, I gotta take him where I can get him, honestly. And I'll take Turnip Boy if it's just different. Yeah, you know, it was a short show this week. It's exactly what I expected. And I managed to keep it shorter than, you know, normal. Yeah, an hour 13. That's not bad. So we'll be back next week with maybe more stuff, maybe not, I don't know. We're out of January is usually the dry month where nothing gets announced. And we actually got 2 directs this month, right? We got both an Xbox and a PlayStation Direct. So that was actually a fair bit of stuff. So, you never know, man. Sometimes, you never know. But yeah, we'll be back next week. So I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Until next time, peace.